5 years ago, I was wrapping up my finance and economics degree at Penn State. I was going to go down a different path of the investment banker. And then long story short, it didn't really end up working out. And thankfully, I was introduced to e-commerce, started a dropshipping store, and then ended up pivoting into a brand that I ran for several months before selling it. And then ultimately knew I wanted to go into B2B and kind of saw the opportunity early on for software and, SaaS as a whole. And back then, SMS marketing was super new. I think there was only about 4 companies doing it on the App Store, and there was probably only 2,000 apps most versus 13,000 now. So I ended up just finding some, partners to go in on that, pitched them the idea, and started building out an MVP.
Storm.
Guys, what's going on? We got another episode of the One Network here. I got Kyle Bigley here with me. He's the founder of a SaaS that does SMS marketing for Shopify, kind of e-com brands. He's a serial entrepreneur, been in the space for a little while. Curious to hear about his business and kind of what he's focused on. Kyle, for the early stage entrepreneurial audience here, can you give us a quick background as to how you got in business in the first place?
Yeah, about 5 years ago, I was wrapping up my finance and economics degree at Penn State. I was going to go down a different path of the investment banker, and then long story short, it didn't really end up working out. And thankfully, I was introduced to e-commerce, started a dropshipping store, and then ended up pivoting into a brand that I ran for several months before selling it. And then ultimately knew I wanted to go into B2B and kind of saw the opportunity early on for software and, SaaS as a whole. And back then, right, SMS marketing was super new. I think there was only about 4 companies doing it on the App Store, and there was probably only 2,000 apps most versus 13,000 now. So I ended up just finding some, partners to go in on that, pitched them the idea, and started building out an MVP.
Nice. What was your were you always an entrepreneur? Like, what was were you like the people talk about like lemonade stand? Like, were you always thinking about doing business?
Yeah, you probably read the starter story I did maybe a month ago or so, but I started out pretty young myself. No lemonade stands, though. My shtick as a kid was modifying Nerf guns, so I would buy Nerf guns, paint them, customize them, kind of enhance the the firing power, and then ultimately would use eBay as sort of an early stage marketplace to sell to other kids and enthusiasts. Just something I did for fun on the side. Was always definitely kind of a hustler and just had this like entrepreneurial spirit since I was a young kid.
Nice. Cool. What were some, so with the first business, can you just walk us through like getting that going, like some of the steps,
Yeah, I mean,
we get a lot of people starting businesses.
Yeah, this was like, I was super young, right? So obviously, the legalities of it are different now. I was probably like 10, 12 years old, whatever it was back then. So it was really just having an eBay account, going out and buying the supplies, watching YouTube videos and kind of like finding someone that was doing it similar. And kind of just learning as I go, which is, honestly the best advice for anyone that's looking to start a business, right? I mean, obviously you want to do your research and read books and get some sort of education or mentor, but you're never going to learn unless you actually pull the trigger and start taking those, actionable steps. In terms of like starting out now, right? Like I think picking a partner or a co-founder that complements, your weaknesses is really important. Obviously, making sure that you incorporate the right way so that you protect yourself legally, whether that's, forming an LLC or making sure you hire a lawyer to draft up those documents. You could definitely get screwed out of certain business dealings if you get involved with the wrong people. So protect yourself, learn, take that first step and just, keep kind of iterating on those failures, right? There are opportunities for growth.
Nice. What were some of the challenges you faced in that first one?
In the first one, honestly, I don't really remember. It was so long ago. I mean, but I've faced plenty of adversity through the various businesses that I started. I mean, when I was first dropshipping in college, this was like 2018. I was just kind of learning everything on the fly, creative, copy, running meta ads, which, back then wasn't even meta, it was Facebook ads. Honestly, just scaling a company the first time around, I got it to, I want to say like I was dropshipping to 30,000 a month in like 2 or 3 months. And then I like hit a massive wall. Like it was just incredibly hard to kind of scale beyond that. For me, that was like the first real struggle that I had with, kind of plateauing at that level. And it was just a one-man shop, just me, and a laptop at college. So I didn't have a lot of resources, didn't have a lot of funding. And ultimately ended up kind of pivoting off of that and then starting a different store that was a brand.
Nice. And then, so how did that what ended up happening there? Did you sell the company?
With
Where
the
did you get it
drop
to?
shipping store, I ended up just
Yeah.
pivoting, kind of just let it
Okay.
fizzle out. And then I pivoted into like a brand. So I was selling men's like luxury accessories and jewelry, right? So this was still sourced from overseas, but it was like higher end products. So it was better margins. I could have a better markup on it. And I was, appealing to some folks with which had a little bit more money through Facebook ads, watches, bracelets, jewelry, things, along those lines of compliment outfits. Really focused on the creative and the theme of the website, put a lot of effort into that, scaled that up to about, I think, 35, 40,000 a month. And that was kind of consistent at that point. And then ultimately kind of met up with a guy in Florida who wanted to take over the company, and we ended up working out a deal for him to purchase it. So that was my first, exit from company.
Nice. Cool. So how do you kind of approach marketing or sales and sort of growth for a company? What's your strategy or series of steps?
Yeah. I mean, I kind of take the approach of, I kind of take a wide approach, if that makes sense. So I'll do a little bit of everything and see what sticks, especially in the beginning. I think that's very important. So with TechScart, kind of moving more present day, we focused on SEO from day one because I knew that it was going to be something that was, a long-term effort. Made some mistakes along the way. Like I think I hired some guys from Fiverr to start doing some SEO, which ended up kind of tanking some things in the short run. But they ended up getting, an agency on board, after we were in business for about a year to start kind of correcting things. And now I'm onboarding a new agency to kind of take it to another level. But that's a long-term effort, right? There's other things that can, pay off more immediately. Obviously, meta ads are incredibly important. I had, various levels of success with that and experience from my early days in e-commerce, but I'm definitely no, media buyer expert. I like to outsource to folks that are smarter than me that can handle those sort of verticals where I, don't have as much experience. And I've also had a lot of success with, working with influencers, right? So in the e-commerce community, there's a lot of folks on YouTube, on TikTok that are selling courses, or they are working with students, right? Or they just have these communities or Facebook groups, partnering up with them in ways that made sense, right? Because we have a product that solves a core problem for people and allows them to make a lot more money, and allows them to also kind of have some goodwill by pushing out good products that will help their community or their students. So that's been super successful. But yeah, I mean, it's been several years now, right? There's going to be ebbs and flows and waves. So sometimes things work better than others, and you got to kind of reallocate funds to what's working in the moment. And then, as you probably know, right, like Facebook ads could, quote, die, right, in 3 months from now, and we got to make another pivot. So just being flexible, kind of taking a wide approach to seeing what works. And then once you find that thing that works, really funneling a lot more of your time and effort and energy and obviously money into it.
Nice. Yeah, the influencer thing's interesting. We have a guy who does Amazon store affiliate. It's like an affiliate marketplace. So I feel like that's like, I don't know, it's a big channel for e-com. But I guess, thinking about Shopify stores in general, like what do you look at that as like the big marketing channels? SMS being one of them, obviously, but like what are the top three in your view?
Yeah, I think obviously paid ads is a big one for not only drop shippers, but a lot of actual brands, right? Whether it's Google shopping experiences, Google ads, Facebook ads, there's a lot of paid ads channel because obviously part of that game is getting new customers in the door and getting them familiar with your brand. I would think second to that is probably email marketing. It's been tried and true for many, many years, and I don't think anyone sees that going anywhere in the short term, at least. And kind of tangent to that's obviously SMS, which is a little bit newer since about 2020 when brands and dropshippers started to take that under their wings. Very complementary to email, but obviously very different. Some people like email, some people prefer to be texted. Obviously with text, you're very limited in what you can do. You can't kind of make these beautiful email templates and super salesy copy. It's got to be a lot more direct and kind of push these different offers. And then outside of that, we're seeing a lot more brands, and I think we're seeing the trend with affiliates, right? So you have these different platforms out there that can help build affiliate programs for brands, and we're working with a few of them, and we've definitely seen that growing as a whole. So I think those are some of the big ones for sure.
Nice. How did you get into SMS marketing?
Yeah, so as I kind of touched on earlier, when I knew I wanted to get into like a B2B SaaS, I kind of just looked at, what was out there and wanted something that was more of like a sales and marketing channel, because obviously with sales, you can typically take some sort of commission. I didn't want to get into email just because I saw all the players in there were already kind of massive and well-funded. And when I looked at that sort of opportunity, I saw that there was only a handful of SMS companies out there. And to be honest, when I was running a drop shipping store and when I started my brand, none of the SMS companies that were out there really kind of wowed me. I had used all of them at the point, right? I had tried at the time it was like Postscript. I think it was Save My Sales, Live Recover, SMS Bump. I think that was pretty much it. It's only a couple of them. And honestly, after using them, I wasn't super satisfied. Thought there was an opportunity there, and thought that I could do something similar, and thought I could do it just as good, if not better. And I think that's, obviously one of the attitudes you have to have as an entrepreneur. But for me, as a non-technical founder, right, I was studying business, finance, economics. I could, handle all of those sort of aspects of the company, but I'd never written a line of code in my life. So I needed to find, a technical co-founder. And fortunately, my roommate was a developer, but he wasn't going to be the right guy for that job. Yeah. So I ended up, cold calling and using my network and kind of getting connected through some referrals. And like I said earlier, pitched the idea to somebody out in Washington that was also recently kind of graduating college. And thankfully, he had a roommate in college that was a great dev and thought it'd be a really cool opportunity. And that was it. We ended up just deciding to build this MVP. We all had full-time jobs at that moment. And honestly, our initial goal was just to hit $10,000 a month and use it as a nice little side hustle. And then to make a long story short, right, the first 12 months, we surpassed that 30,000 in MRR level. And at that point, nice. Again, similar to earlier, right, kind of hit that wall. I've noticed that running theme in a couple of the businesses that I've started. Once we hit that 30K level, definitely saw some sort of resistance. And like I said, we all had, pretty high paying jobs at the time, and we were pretty happy with where we were at with the company. And the software didn't really require a lot of time each week from us or a lot of development at that point. We were only focused on one sort of core feature, which was abandoned cart recovery. So we kind of just let that ride. Honestly, we let that ride for about 12 to 18 months, pretty passively operating at like 50% margins. Before we kind of got that like reinvigoration to take this thing to another level and kind of refocus on it.
Nice. What kind of so I guess interesting question for me is obviously that non-technical founder thing is like a big question for people. Like, sure, how much involvement do you have in the product and in the tech? Because I imagine there's like APIs and a lot of different things. So I work with other products that use SendGrid,
Yeah, I am involved in just about everything outside of the development, right? So I still pretty much to this day have not really seen much of the code. I'm thankful, and fortunate that I have a really good partner. I've also had companies and businesses where I've chosen the wrong partner, and we can touch on that maybe later. But I, thankfully and luckily have a really solid business partner in Brady, who I got connected through in my early years of starting this. He's been great. But yeah, in terms of what areas of the business, right? Like obviously finance, everything related to the financials of the business is under my purview. Everything marketing related, I have a pretty tight grip on. Copy, design. I head up a lot of the design and then the product management, right? So we have new dashboards being made, new pages being made for the website, new products being developed. So I'll work closely with one of my other partners who manages the product and kind of relays my vision to the developers and kind of syncs and marries that up so that they kind of know what to build and how to build it. But definitely very hands-on on pretty much every aspect of the business outside of actually writing the code.
Nice. How has the progress been on the company just in terms of like growth and, what have been some of the pitfalls or, the struggles there?
Yeah. So obviously that first struggle was just, we were working on this part-time. We were super happy to get to that level that we had gotten to, but couldn't really get past it just due to the fact that we are small, part-time and bootstrapped. So after we kind of took that initial hiatus and came back, we had made some improvements to the product and decided, we were kind of always underpriced. That was one of my initial kind of strategies, early in the process of the company was obviously come in, provide great support, provide a great product, but I wanted to do it at, a discount compared to our competitors. So at that point, it'd been like 2 years removed. We hadn't raised prices. So I was like, look, let's just raise prices. We're still going to be cheaper than some of the competitors out there. That's probably the easiest way to grow the company, honestly. So we raised the prices just a little bit. I think that took us up to like 45, 50,000 in MRR. So that was pretty good. And at that point, we were kind of, we had the juices were kind of reinvigorated, right? We were ready and excited to keep building this thing. And we were working towards what we called internally TechScart 3.0. So that was a brand new website. It was a brand new dashboard, right? Previously, we were kind of using an old, outdated dashboard that I had paid, probably $1,000 on Fiverr for. It got the job done, but it wasn't anything great. So we were working on that launch and that release. We had brought out a couple of new small features within the product just to provide a little bit more value to our current merchants. And now where we're at is we had just eclipsed the 1 million ARR mark. So we're floating around that 85, 86, 90,000 a month. That came after one final pricing tweak. There was a slight, price increase there, but it's more kind of refining our pricing more so than just a flat hike. And then obviously the launch of a couple of new features didn't hurt. And then building out our affiliate program, starting to work with influencers again, which we kind of took a hiatus from as well back, from those couple of years off. And just, spending more time and energy and money on marketing, right? We were focused on profitability for a while. Now we wanted to get back into growth mode. And our very short, immediate term is to get to 100K a month. And we'll probably close out the end of the year right around there. And then beyond that, taking the company to 2 and then 3 million in ARR is sort of our medium term goals.
Nice. Okay. So how do you manage budgeting, as the company scales? Where's most of the budget going? Or do you have full-time employees, contractors, advertising spend?
Yeah, I'll go through it a little bit. Obviously, I work out of an Excel P&L for the most part. So I have a P&L summary and a forecast. I've probably remade that sheet, 5 times over, probably once per year. I think I'm on V10 now of my current sheet. So just minor tweaks and whatnot. But this is pretty much my, the heart of the business in terms of everything financial related. So, obviously all the revenue streams, the platform fees, we have all of our SG&A costs that I'll monitor and kind of add in there as we're trying out new softwares and whatnot. Keeping track of all of these sort of office and utility expenses, and we have human capital stuff, and then marketing. So when we weren't really focused on growth, right, we were focused on profitability at that point. So just being, sustainable and just kind of lasting the tide, so to speak. And at that point, 40%, 45% margins when we're not really spending on aggressive growth is pretty common for us. So that's pretty good. Obviously with SMS marketing and SMS companies in general, right? SMS is fairly expensive. So where you have these sort of more traditional SaaS companies, they can typically operate on 60, even 70% margins sometimes. At the time, I want to say it was 20% or so of our costs were SMS related. Since then, we were able to kind of, negotiate contracts and get that lower. I think we're right around 12 or 13% right now. But yeah, I'm definitely in the spreadsheets pretty frequently. I'll do a sit down once a month and just kind of review everything for the previous month and enter in all that data. It's coming up obviously tomorrow, with it being October 1st. I'll be doing that tomorrow. In terms of a breakdown, kind of get you a ballpark idea. Shopify has their platform fees. So right now that's the 2.9%. Once you have a million in revenue for the year, and it's only for that calendar year, any dollars over that million are basically subject to an additional, I want to say it's 15% rev share with Shopify. Back in the day when I had started, I believe Shopify took 20% on everything, no matter if you made $1 or $10 million. So thankfully they revised that. It's a lot more advantageous for small developers and companies now. But we are coming up on that point where we're going to start incurring that extra 15% tax, which will obviously kind of suck at that point. But it's a good sign for growth. And then SGA costs, I touched on, texting itself is about 12, 13% with our sort of negotiated contracts. Total SG&A costs, typically we're looking for 20 to 25%. Utilities are around 1 to 2%. Human capital varies, pretty greatly. I think you mentioned or asked earlier, what the team composition is. It's a lot of fractional help. It's a lot of part-time help. There is a couple of full-time employees. We are hiring a couple of more as well. I'm actually bringing on a couple of full-time customer support reps, bringing on a new media buyer, bringing on a new agency for SEO. So agencies, fractional talent, part-time help, full-time. It's really a mixed basket. And the reason for that is right, we're bootstrapped. We're still a fairly small company, so we need to be efficient, right? We didn't go out and raise $2 million to go hire a bunch of talent.
Nice.
Yeah, so that's one of the struggles of bootstrapping, obviously, right? And there's definitely the other side of the coin where you go out and you raise a bunch of money and you can get pretty good talent at that rate. We might get there. I definitely like being bootstrapped. There's pros and cons, obviously, to everything. But yeah, that's kind of a breakdown on the human capital cost and the marketing. When we're like really aggressive, right, we could be spending 30, 40, sometimes even 50% on marketing cost. Just looking at like trailing 12 months, we've been kind of about 20 to 30% on marketing. And kind of the reason for that too is we've pulled back a little bit as we're rebuilding a lot of the stuff in the company. And what I mean by that is we're kind of at an inflection point where we were sort of a one feature product, as I mentioned earlier, just focusing on cart recovery. Now we kind of realize our spot in the market and the kind of consolidation trends amongst merchants and brands wanting to use less, tech in their stack. And basically what that means is we need to build out a better product that has more features, more offerings, basically offer a one-stop, solution for everything SMS. So all of the flows, all of the automations, pop-ups, anything that you could think of and want in your SMS marketing platform or program is what we're building towards. So it's, obviously an interesting pivot for the company. But that'll also help a lot of the churn and give us new marketing angles. So definitely super excited for what's coming down the pipeline in 2025. And I think we'll be, seeing a lot bigger spend percentages as it relates to our marketing cost as a percentage of MRR.
Nice. What the biggest challenge, like how with retention, I know that's a problem for companies. How do you sort of look at that?
Yeah, I mean, it's a problem for all companies. It's really a problem for Shopify app owners. I mean, anyone in the ecosystem knows the high churn nature of Shopify stores. And that's partly due to the fact that Shopify has a large, kind of customer base of, these SMBs and these drop shippers. And just by nature, there's so many options out there. I think there's like 13,000 apps now in the App Store. When you search SMS, I think there's over 600 that, return on that search. There's so many options. They're getting spam emailed every day by different companies. They're getting hit with marketing. So just the optionality alone, people want to try different things, right? Obviously, word of mouth is a big thing as well. So it's definitely a constant battle. And with Shopify in particular versus I think other industries are a little bit different. The, 1 day uninstall rate is significantly higher, right? Like you can see a large percentage of your installs install that day and then leave the same day. And it's typically not like that. It's probably just due to the low friction of Shopify not needing a credit card because a lot of these apps are piggybacking off of Shopify payments. But we monitor a lot of this stuff. We built out through a platform called Mixpanel, a lot of different metrics to monitor churn and kind of analyze those funnels. Yeah. So honestly, it was one of those things for me. Like we had run the company 3 years without Mixpanel. I was like, how did we get away with this? Like not having it. It was just a pretty pivotal moment for me and the company. It's a great platform. Really like the dashboard that we were able to build out. So that helps a lot. We also brought an agency. We built out a lot of these sort of live chat and email flows that we use through Intercom. So these are all trigger based. So this helps nurture people along, welcome them when they join, right? Ask for uninstall reasons when they leave. So that was pretty big and helpful for us as well, because there was a long time when we didn't have any of these, sort of automated emails going out. We also survey everyone now. We weren't doing that in the beginning, right? So we always ask, new folks that are coming on, how did you find us, right? We asked them to kind of rate us from a 1 to 10 on a scale. We always ask for feedback through reviews. So just, being a lot more active and present in the journey and just keeping our kind of finger on the pulse has been super helpful. But for us, the biggest reason I think we see a lot of churn is just by the nature of us being a one product solution, right? People want, to be able to do more with their platforms. So if someone wants to say, send a welcome series with TechScart, well, today, as of, September 30, 2024, you can't do that, right? We're a cart and checkout recovery platform. We also do have campaigns, but there is limitations in the product. And obviously that's going to cause some churn from users that are maybe expecting, or there's a misalignment on expectations there.
Nice. Random kind of side question. Do you guys use AI in the product at all, or?
Yeah, we were super early. Yeah, we were super early in AI actually. So when we built out the MVP, we used a platform called With AI. I think it was a meta open source, like early AI agent. I don't even know if you could really call it AI nowadays, but that's what we built out the initial product with, and we used that for several years. Now we're obviously pivoting with the wave of generative AI that's out there and the vast improvements that have been made in such a short period of time. We're basically changing that model to use a Claude Sonnet driving our AI. So it's going to really improve the product and the conversations, because obviously, with our company, the big reason that a lot of folks use us is it's conversational. So it's both an extension of sales and support, which both our customers and their customers really like. So we're definitely super excited by what's coming down the pipeline with these new sort of AI enhancements.
Nice. Cool. So what's your objective? Like, where you do you want to sell the company? What's kind of the goals over the next 3 to 5 years?
Yeah, I mean, I think most entrepreneurs, they would love to kind of have that exit. And I think SaaS is a great spot to be. If you're looking to achieve that. Historically, I have buddies that have sold SaaS companies for 3 to 5x ARR. Margins and multiples are down a little bit right now, just given the state of the economy and everything that's going on. But yes, my long-term goal is to sell the company. I want to take it as far as I can without really like fundamentally changing how the company is, right? As I mentioned, staying small, staying lean, probably staying bootstrapped. Short term, 3 million in ARR is the goal before I would kind of even consider selling it. I think that's something that I could realistically get the company to. But who knows, right? Things are ever changing, right? We could end up doing a strategic partnership, that ends up, changing that dynamic, or we could bring on a seed round and bring on a couple of angel investors and raise some money. But as of now, and as things have kind of progressed, that's the long-term goal for the next 2+ years, I would say.
Nice. Cool. What are some of the lessons you've learned, or what advice would you have with people who are starting a SaaS company in e-com?
Yeah, I mean, just in general, it's going to take a lot longer than you think. I think there's this sort of like sex appeal right now of starting a SaaS company.
Right.
Fortunate enough to kind of gotten in before the masses. I would always urge people to kind of tread cautiously when you see everyone and their mother, so to speak, start talking about doing something, whether it's crypto, whether it's SaaS, whatever it is. SaaS feels like it's overly popular right now. And obviously you have kind of the AI, I don't want to say bubble, but that's kind of driving it as well. In general, people always make things out to be easier than they are. Typically, they have something to sell you, whether it's a course or a community or something. And don't get me wrong, mentorship and courses can be great, but it's not the ends, to everything. So just if you're going to do it, you have to be fully committed to it. You have to be prepared both mentally and financially that it's going to take probably 2 to 3 times longer than you think to achieve it. And just, don't kind of get discouraged when things inevitably go wrong, because they will. And that's, how you deal with that and how you ultimately learn is by making mistakes, right? I've been doing this for 5 years now. It definitely hasn't been a smooth ride the entire time. There's ebbs and flows. There's kind of highs and lows. And that's just the nature of being an entrepreneur and being a business owner. And, making small kind of progress every single day is a good way to kind of look at it. Because, when you're in the moment, it can kind of feel discouraging at times, but when you kind of take that 30,000 foot, view, or kind of zoom out a little bit and widen the aperture, you typically see the progress that you've made over the years that you've been doing it.
Yeah. Cool. Do you produce content or coach people?
I don't coach anyone at the moment, and I don't really produce content. It's actually something a lot of my team members have kind of been getting on me about, right? There's this newfound founder-led, movement really for SaaS companies. So it's something that we are looking at internally. You'll probably see me posting more content, 2025, Twitter, LinkedIn, whatnot. But current day, still very much in the business and working on the business before I can really kind of focus on putting out the content to scale it to that next level.
Nice. Cool. Kyle, where can people find you and how do they use the product?
Yeah, you can find me on pretty much every major social media platform. It's usually just at my name, so at Kyle Bigley. Sometimes there's a period in there, between the two names, obviously. And then, as far as the product goes, if you're on Shopify, if you're a drop shipper, or if you're a brand, you can reach out to us for a demo, or you can book it or install it rather directly from the App Store. So obviously, you're probably familiar with that. You can go in there, search for SMS. I think we're top 5 search results, or just search for TechScart. Pretty seamless, one-click install. We'll have you onboarded in typically about 5 minutes or so. And as we sit here, on September 30th, 2024, we do a 14-day free trial. So happy to get you guys hooked up with that as well. And if you have any questions, you can always reach out to either myself or our live chat support team. We're always there to help you.
Sweet. Thanks, Kyle. This is the
Thank
one
you so
network.
much.
Good stuff.
Storm.